I've been teaching for over 35 years. I also owned a wine business, wine marketing company for many, many years. And I did a lot of marketing work for other companies. So I've come from a very strange background. I'm an academic, but that makes multimedia, objects. But I'm also interested in small businesses. I come from small business background. So I'm hoping that what I tell you today is helpful. So a lot of people want to have mobile apps. In fact, yesterday I met with 2 different companies that crossed the river, one from Lake Oswego and one from Oregon City, to come to our program to ask our students to make the mobile apps. This happens a lot. I get a lot of phone calls, probably 3 a week, for mobile app development. And the first question I ask people is, what do you mean by a mobile app? What is it you're looking for? Because when you look at your phones or you look at your devices, a lot of you have already downloaded apps, right? You download an app from the Apple Store. How many of you get them from Apple or Android markets? Okay, and they're free, or they cost 99 cents or $1.29, or in some cases $4.99. That app has gone through a process that we would call a native app process, right? So there's 3 kinds of app environments. Right? 3 kinds of app environments. The ones you normally get, the ones that you're familiar with, that you buy or get for free from the marketplace, are native apps generally. The other kind of app I'm going to be talking about today is a hybrid app. And the third type is a web app. So the first question I ask small businesses is, what do you need an app for? What kind of, activities, what kind of functionality do you need to get your business going that you want it to go, right? And a lot of people, all they really need is a web-based app, right? So I want to go through the 3 different types, explain to you the pros and cons of each one. I've got it all here on paper, but I want to actually map it out for you here and go into a little bit more detail. And then I want to talk about cost and why some are better than others, right? And what it takes to make the different ones, right? So you have a nice shell that you can follow here, but I'm going to try to fill in some gaps for you, okay? So let's go over here and look. I'm going to move this out of the way. So I'm going to map out the 3 types of apps. There's the web, first type. There is the hybrid, second type. And then there's native. And I'm going to start with the web because that's the one that you really are more familiar with, you just don't know it. So if you go on your phone and you go to a website, that web page is a potential app called a web app, right? So that's what I mean by web app. So that's the first type. They're really, really great for small businesses because they're very cheap to produce. To make a mobile app from the web, it's about $40 an hour for coding costs. That's cheap. And it runs on very, very easy coding languages, HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. But take it from me, those are 3 easy languages, right? And $40 an hour is what that usually will cost you to hire someone to come and do a web page for you for that. And so that's the first thing. It's very cheap to produce. And also when you want to manage it, all right, so you're going to manage this site. So let's imagine you have, let's say, what kind of company do you have? Vending machine. Let's say you've got a web page, right? Now? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's go to Chappelle. Chappelle, you have a web page. All right. So I download your web page on my phone. I'm looking at it. I can actually hold down a button on my phone and make a little launcher app and have your web page on my app for posterity. And I'm going to show you in a minute how that happens. But I can if you then just touch on the app icon and then your website always comes up. Now tomorrow, let's imagine you change some things on your web page. Let's say you change a price, towing price. Even though I have downloaded your app, when I tap on that icon the next time, it automatically brings up your new information. When you buy a native app and you buy it for 99 cents, what has to happen when they update? What do you get those notices? What are those notices you get about an app that you've bought and then you get a notice? What is that? Reinstall the new version, right? And how many I get 4 or 5 of those notices a day. I'm constantly updating my apps. It drives me insane, right? All right, that's fine on your end, but on the end of the developer, for Chappelle, if they had an app, they would have to say, let's say they changed their prices. Someone's got to go in and make those changes in the native app environment, reload it to the Apple Store and Android Store and the Windows Market, and then notify you, right? Those markets notify you to download the new app, and then you get the new prices. Do you see that? So making and managing here are very cheap because it's just a matter of the user just reconnecting, right? So that's one of the main things that we like about web apps. The other thing that's nice about them is, besides that, is that you have total control over what gets on them. So, for example, I have a friend who made the most beautiful DVD piece of art. It's considered one of the best works of multimedia design ever. He decided to migrate it to the mobile environment. So he recreated that beautiful environment for Apple. Apple would never let him into the market because they required him to put navigation menus in places that he didn't want to put it on a piece of art. Dick Hanna, my program made Dick Hanna's app years ago. And I had a heck of a time getting that through the Apple Store because they didn't believe the word dick was a real word, that they thought it was pornography. And I had to send them documentation proving that this was a real man and that was his real name. So there's all kinds of things that happen at the market side that impinges upon your design and your content. In the case of my friend Steve Tomasula's app, they wanted to muck up his beautiful design with blue navigation bars at the bottom of the page. In the case of Dick Hanna's app, they didn't want to have the content name Dick in the title. Okay.
So are you essentially answering to like Apple and Android?
Yeah, so there's three major ones now, right? There's Apple, Android, and Windows. So, and that's the third. So that's number two, right? So your content and your design are free and open. Do whatever you want. The third reason why I like web apps is that you are making one website and it goes everywhere, right? If you make a native app, you have to make it for each one of those environments. And I'll come to that in more detail in a second. So your third really good reason for using the web is that it's cross-browser. You know, it's cross-platform. I mean, it goes to all markets, all phones. It's cross-phones. Let's just call it that, cross-phone. Those are three really strong reasons. I'll come to the cons in a minute. I want to continue with the pros of each of these. Does that make sense to everybody? I can make a web page in a weekend, right? So it's really easy, fast, if there's not a lot of stuff to it, right? So it's really one of the best ways to go for small businesses. Native apps are very, very, very different. Native apps require specific high-level programming languages, right? There's three markets right now. So there's the Apple, there's the Android, and there's Windows. We generally create for these two. Android is the most prevalent. It's like 80% of the market. However, the interesting piece of information you need to know is that people who will own Androids don't always use apps. Actually, the 20% of the Apple users use apps. So they have a higher percentage of usage, but there's more Android phones. So we always create cross-platform, right? Apple requires Objective-C coding languages. When you hire an Objective-C coder, you're looking at about $120 an hour, as opposed to $40 an hour. For Android, it's Java. There's other languages, but those are the two dominant languages. And so that means that whatever you create in this environment, in Objective-C, you've got to recreate that entire app in Android in Java. So now you've got 2 different apps, plus then you got to work out the Windows issue. So you're really creating 3 different apps, 1 person or 2 people or 3 people with a lot of strong coding skills at about $120 an hour. So for small businesses, this does not make sense in most cases. The advantage though, so let's go back to here for a second. The advantage of native apps though, just to give you just kind of an overview, is that you actually do have better security and safety. I can promise you the Apple market is one of the safest places to download anything. They are so persnickety about what you upload to them. Android, not so much. It's like virus city. But Apple's very, very safe, right? And it's safer than downloading anything from the web, right? The second reason why people like native apps is that every feature of your phone is accessible through that coding language. Everything. So when you take your phone, you move it around, you shake it, and things happen, you can do that with native app environment. You can't do that with the app environment. So there's certain features and functionalities that you can only access through Objective-C and Java programming on the native app that you can't do in web. The other reason why people like native apps is that they are findable. Oh my gosh. If you're going to do a business and you want to make money on apps, you don't want to use web, you want to go here because you want to hit the market. Apple market, the Android marketplace is very, very strong and it makes your work findable, right? Just type in the name of your company and it comes right up. It's not the case with web apps. So here are 3 really good reasons why you use native apps. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So that begs the question, what is a hybrid app, right? What is that? What is a hybrid app? Well, a hybrid app is really kind of interesting. It's a web app that has been kind of recoded or repackaged is probably a better word, with a kind of language that makes the marketplace think it's a native app. So it's the best of both worlds in some cases. One of the languages or one of the programs we use for this is PhoneGap. It's one of the most popular. And Accelerator is another one. There's like 5 different big ones that people use, but PhoneGap is the one we've been using for a long time. So we can take a web page, we can create it in HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript, and then we run it through the PhoneGap environment, and it spits it out so that it goes into a native kind of environment so that Apple Store and Android stores and Windows stores can find it. Now, the problem with hybrid apps is that they don't have the features here, right? They're going to be more like, they're going to have a combination of these features. So they're not going to be as secure and safe in some cases. You won't be able to get all the features of the native app. You will be findable, so it's got this, right? And you won't be able to do this because you have to go through the Apple Store, but it's more manageable, very manageable, because you're still building in HTML5. So for example, yesterday we had a local company, Watts Heating and Cooling, come across the river, and we're making they sell heating systems, right? So they go to your house, they figure out what you need, and on their iPad, they want a form. They want to have some sort of web form that they can fill out, and it populates automatically with prices and information, your contact information, sends over to their company, and then it goes automatically into the database and pulls up the right inventory. That we can make as a web app. Really simple. So we're going to create that as a web app. We're going to probably wrap it in PhoneGap. Because it really can sit in a PhoneGap environment. Not to make it findable for the public, but to make it easy for the salesman to get to it, right? And it won't be hard to upload. The app I'm showing up here, we're creating an app for the sleep lab in Spokane, Washington. This is an app. It's built on a sensor that's patented by the Spokane Sleep Lab. And it's going to allow people who are driving to be notified before they fall asleep that they're starting to get drowsy, right? And it's all done with a sensor on the steering column. And so we're building the app interface for that environment, right? And so that is going to be another hybrid app. We're building it here. We're going to run it through here so that the people that are trying to sell this to different companies, because we're working with trucking companies, can show it. Once we sell it, we'll build it in the native environment. So to show it, we're going to stop here. When we sell it, we're going to go here. So there's strategies you can use depending on what your plans are for your business. And you move it over. Do you see the way that works? So here's the web page on a desktop or laptop environment. Do you see that? Here it is. Now I'm going to move it to the size of a tablet. Now I'm going to make it the size of a phone. You see the way it fits, it responds to the environment? That's called responsive design. So this allows this to look like an app and function like an app on your phone. And to be honest with you, all of you are going to want to make the move to responsive designs as soon as possible because Google is now privileging responsive websites over non-responsive websites. So if you want to be a findable company for your field, someone else who's already made the change to responsive design will be more findable than you because Google's going to privilege them over your company. Is this helping you guys at all? Yeah. Yeah, it just drives me crazy when people want to spend so much money on native apps and what they really, really need. And these guys that came to see me yesterday, they were so frustrated because people have been quoting them like $40,000 for their app. And they don't, they're a local company, right? They're a small company. They can't afford $40,000 for an app. So the solution we have for them is going to work. Okay, the problem is with web. I mean, what's obviously the problem with, you just saw, what's the problem with the web app? What do you need for the web app? You need Wi-Fi. I didn't log in. So you need Wi-Fi or the network. Now, for an app, for a native app, once you download your native app, more than likely, it's inside your phone. So you just tap it and you use it, right? So that's one of the advantages here, over here. So you need Wi-Fi. And so when I was talking to these guys yesterday, they, on their iPads, they have the kind of iPads that have the network connection. So wherever they go, they can have a network. Okay, the second thing that's problematic with web apps is findability. Unless you have a good SEO strategy, which I think you have a workshop coming up on that soon, being findable is hard, right? If you're relying on people to find you on their cell phones, let's imagine that I'm at work, the kids call and they say, oh, Mom, the sink is overflowing. You gotta fix this. And I'm on my phone, maybe I'm on a sales call. I pull up my phone, I've got to find something really fast. I'm on the web looking for plumbers. If your plumbing company has bad search engine optimization strategy, then finding your website is not going to work. If you are in the marketplace here, all I have to do is go to the Apple Marketplace, Apple iStore, type in Plumbers Vancouver, and if you've paid for an app and it has been uploaded, then I can pull it up faster. You see what I mean? So this is contingent upon good SEO, and I can talk about that maybe at the end. And just one more little thing you might want to know is web apps aren't really apps. They're websites that fool you into thinking they're apps. But generally, that's why I say mobile environments, right, instead of web apps. The bad thing about native apps is they cost a lot of money to make. $20,000, they're very expensive. You can there'll be companies that will sell you packages, and they'll take care of them for you, they'll manage them, upload them for you. But every time you make a change, they're going to charge you money for all of the work they do. Right, so if you are a company where you have volatile prices, like the folks I was working with yesterday, things change. They get stuff from China, Japan. They've got to constantly update their app in Objective-C in Java and then have that uploaded. Doesn't work so well. Okay, so that's one thing. Another problem with the native app, once again, is that you're really at the mercy of the Apple Store and Android Store for allowing your app to go in. Android's easy. It takes you like a day to upload an app in the Android Store, which is why there's lots of viruses and problems with Android Store. Apple Store, it takes a long time. So, for example, when my program bought its Apple license, and they're $99 to get an Apple license, lasts you for a year. We bought our license, and we were taking the Dick Hanna app to the store. We had our first, it took several weeks to get our license approved because they vet everybody. They want to make sure it's not, smut, it's not, terrorist. I mean, they really do vet the people who put their apps through. It's pretty rigorous. And so then we passed that hurdle. We started to put the app through, and then we got pushback on the name. By the time we got the app to the market, it was 6 weeks. So I want you to imagine. Now, once you get in the market, then it's about every week or 2 weeks, depending on how much changes you've got. If it's a minor change, a week or so before it's back in the market. If it's a major change, a major like a redesign, it's another couple of weeks. So every time you make a change in a native app, you're looking at a delay. It's not going to be instant. Do you see?
That's just with Apple, not the other.
Android still takes a day or so. But with the app, when you're making a web app, when I say upload, it's like fast, 2 seconds. So 2 seconds as opposed to a day, as opposed to a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Okay. So that's another issue. And then they tell you where things need to go and how they need to be. For every Apple app you make, you need a website. And the website has to have certain things on it. It's got to have a launcher app. It's got to have an image of the app itself. It's got to have help information, contact information. So when you go to the Apple Store, Apple iTunes Store, that information is available. Yeah.
So why are so many free? Like, if it's so expensive
I
to
know.
make, I just,
That's a great question. What do you think? What do you think?
It's an advertising expense for the company.
So some companies there's 2 reasons. So there's 3 reasons. First, it's a teaser. Some companies will say, if I give them this, they'll buy that. Right? It's a service, customer service. If they're big enough, they can afford to do that. In some cases, they give you a free app, they get you seduced, and then you have to buy the app to get all the other cool stuff. And so you're playing this game, games are notorious for this. I think of Scrabble. Huh?
Premiums.
Yes, premiums.
Yeah, you can play for 3 days.
Yeah, play for 3 days for free. Yeah, so I had the New York Times crossword puzzle. I got to play for a week. I'm addicted to crossword puzzles in the newspaper. It's one of the main reasons I love the Columbian. I get my crossword puzzle and I lay in bed. Now I got an app. So I can throw my Columbian away after I read it in the morning. I don't have to fold it and put it by my bed in the mornings. But it was a week of free play, and then it was like $40 for the year. That's the most I've ever paid for anything. You know what I mean? But I'm addicted to it, and I can erase without anyone knowing. Right? You should see my crossword puzzles. When it's in the paper. So it's a teaser, free play. Then you pay for it $40, and there's a lot of people like me with the New York Times crossword puzzle. So they're making money on that one. The third reason why people make and pay for those apps is that it is intended to be a cool app that's going to bring them a bunch of money. Now, that is the worst reason to make an app anymore. Back when I first started playing with apps in 2007, because I've been doing this a long time, right? I can count the number of apps on one hand, right? It's like, oh, look, there's an app for this. Oh, and I would lay in bed with my Apple phone and just like, oh, look at all these cool apps. And now I have like 1 million apps. In general, there's so many of them. There's millions of apps, right? So the findability becomes even hard. Even in the Apple Store and the Android Store, it's getting harder and harder, right? And they're becoming redundant. What new ideas can you possibly have? What new way can you play that jewel game? You know, how many Oregon Trails are we going to see, right? How many remakes of old games can there be? I've got 3 versions of Asteroids. Remember that game? Yeah. I've got Pac-Man. I've got them all. It's getting glutted. It's a glutted market. So in the old days, 7 years ago, 5 years, 8 years ago, the old days, making an app, you can make some money. Not so much anymore. Now it's a service to your clients. So then you have to ask yourself, how much money do I want to spend on this service, right? And how will it benefit me? So now we're getting into marketing issues. Well, for Dick Hanna, what they were using was the customer care app. So they were concerned, remember the customer care for life program they had? I know I had it with my car. But if my car broke down on the side of the road, I didn't need AAA. I had Dick Hanna. And what they wanted is someone to, their car breaks down, they tap on the app, a big green button shows up, you tap it, and it automatically lets the customer service people, the tow truck and everybody know, I need help, here's where I am, come and get me now, before I even have to even call them. That's huge, right? So what that required, in order for that to be a native app, and we built that as a native app, the reason why that was difficult is that we had to have contact information that had to be embedded in a database that then had to talk to the Dick Hanna database. So this phone had to talk to that phone in the database. And then we had to be able to, in those days, GPS was not necessarily part of the web environment. Now you don't need Wi-Fi for GPS. You know that, right? But in the early days, you needed to have a native app to access GPS. So when we built the Fort Vancouver mobile project for the Fort Vancouver National Historic Site. And in those days that we were building that, no one could use that app without Wi-Fi to access the maps that we made. When I was teaching this stuff in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, I had all this memorized in my head. I had every resolution size. There's like one phone size. And there's no Apple iPads in those days. So I can memorize all the dimensions needed for any object that went in here. Now, I could show you, there's so many versions. iPad is getting ready to come out with a huge, bigger version, right? That's yet another size I've got to know. So I don't even think about sizes anymore. I go online to my site and I pull it up and I look at it. I just cheat. And I'm going to show you some resources, right? That'd be a good thing to do right now before I forget that, and then I'll talk about marketing. So there's a website I want to give you, and I'll pull it up right now. We teach, my faculty teach mobile media. We've been doing it in the summers at University of Victoria for a couple of years. We drive up there, we teach for a week. So I'm giving you the website for that environment. I'll give it to you in a second. I'll write on the board. There it is. I'm going to write this on the board for you now, and then you can find it with me. By the way, when you start making your websites for mobile media, you can use a content management system like WordPress. And if you look at the templates that are given away for free or sold for WordPress, it will say responsive design. And that's what you want. Do not buy anything that's not responsive. Secondly, it'll say enhanced for search engine optimization. That's the second thing you want. The third thing you want is that it's enhanced for mobile. And sometimes these templates are free, and at the most they're $40. So they're very reasonable. So go to dtc-wsu-vancouver.org/WP for WordPress /DHSI on your device if you want to.
Can you repeat those 3 things that you said you do want?
Yeah, so you want responsive design. I'll put it on the board for you. And responsive, remember, means that it responds to whatever environment you're looking at the web page on. So responsive design, you can drag the corner up and make it size to iPad and iPhone size. The second thing you want is SEO enhanced. Do you know what SEO means? Yeah, search engine optimization. And then in some cases, you can get mobile enhanced. So this website is the course that we teach. There's lots of slideshows you can download. Everything is there that you possibly could wonder about. How to design a mobile app, the different types. It's all here. If you look at the projects, there's that. And then there's also resources. And the resources is what I want to show you. It's huge. I got lots of stuff for you to look at. So these are templates. If you're going to have, let's say some of you have kids that like to code. I know there's a lot of them. Yours does. I mean, this little jQuery mobile template, he can knock out a website for you, an app for you, and like that. Real simple. And then this one is enhanced for Google Maps, which would be good for you also, Dan. Development tools, tutorials and resources, different scripts. These are the dev resources for all the different kinds of apps, like if you're going to build an Apple, let's say you're working with a company, and I would recommend you always look at information and don't just take people's word for it. So when they say they're going to make a mobile app for you and they're going to use Apple and they're going to make it like this, go here and read that document, these documents, because it'll say, here are the sizes, here's what it really has to look like. So then you have some knowledge. I met with a woman this week from Lake Oswego who was working with a company in Portland, and they made a mobile site for her, a web app for her that was not enhanced for search engine optimization and stuff, even though they said they had done it. There's Android development there. PhoneGap is there. And here's things like how we map things out. So, for example, when you make a mobile app and you work with somebody on the mobile app environment, they're going to ask you how you want it to function. They're going to say, okay, so you want people to click on the iPad on this launcher icon, and that's going to open up the splash page. And then on the splash page, you're going to have several buttons. Okay, where's my car? Contact information. So here they click on this button and it takes them to this interface. They click on this button, it takes them to the interface. So how to think through that environment. And you want to kind of think that yourself before you talk to somebody. Right? What do you want? What kind of features do you want on that main page when they land on your page? What's the most pertinent information? And so this section here provides you some prototyping, mind mapping, brainstorming activities to think about. And then some design, some articles, books, audio, visual, video, how to work with video, Flickr, Google Maps. Here, the Apple Store information. So there's the Apple Store Development Center, which you really need to know about if you're going to be building database. And then here are slideshows here at the bottom for you. Okay.
Out of curiosity, is this course something that myself or a small business person can take?
It's for academics. Academics want to make websites for like I'm making one right now for the Devonian Gardens at University of Alberta, my students are. And so the University of Alberta sent people to our workshop, but they're using our students. So I met them through a workshop that we taught, the first year there. But there's lots of folks that can help you here. Let me make a couple of other comments. Hey, dear, let me make a couple of other comments. You notice that if you did that just now, look at that app environment. Do you see what you just look at it? Notice it looks like an app icon. That's called a launcher icon. Notice that if the title is really long, it cuts off the title. So I just downloaded and fixed Juanita Jean, which is my favorite political blog out of Texas. I still read it every day because I think she's funny. But you only get 14 characters in your blog, in your app name. So if it's more than 14 characters, then it's going to truncate. So when I was talking about mobile enhanced, if you get a mobile enhanced template, one of the things that's going to ask you to do is upload your launcher icon and name your website in 14 characters or less. And when you do that, like we did Quita, like we did Decana, or not Decana, but what other one did we just do? I can't remember. But anyway, then it will bring it up so that less than the 14 characters, don't get truncated, and your icon looks good. So the Quita icon looks like a launcher icon because we made it one. So for example, what we're doing for the Drowsy Driver app, we're creating a gig site, a project site that's going to have all the project information, right, with demos and things like that. And then the site that's going to be the prototype for the app itself will just be the app site. So we're making two for that one. But at $40 an hour, that's doable. That's still cheaper than $120 an hour. Josie's been one of our students, so she knows a lot of this stuff. Any other questions? We still have like 5 minutes. Happy to answer questions. So let's talk then about marketing. So to make your websites, we're going to talk about web apps because findability is not so much a problem with natives, right? So web apps, how do you make them findable? The way to make your web app findable is to create your website around keywords. Keywords are vital. So for this woman in Lake Oswego, whose website we're working on now, we're capturing the keywords that people are using to find her website. And we're doing it through, some people use Google Analysis. We're doing it through StatCounter, which is another free service. So you develop your list of keywords. And then you come up with a description of your company that embeds the keywords. You want to come up with a nice amount, six or so, 7. And you want to embed every one of those keywords in your description. Chappelle Towing Company is a premier towing company of the Vancouver, Southwest Washington area, serving all of Clark County. So there's some keywords all right there. Family friendly, whatever, right? So anything that you think people might be looking for here and you want to enhance, you write in your description. So when Google is sending out its bots to look for information, it's looking for specific things. It's looking for words. Google bots don't read pictures. They do not read pictures, and they don't read video. So everything you do is textual. Your website also needs to be set up so that this is like your main real estate right here. Google bots read like this. They read like an F. So anything you put in this vicinity is like Park Place, and anything you put over here is like Baltic Gardens. To put it in Monopoly perspective. So you don't want to put a lot of pictures and sliders in your header unless you name every picture in the header with an alt tag. An alt tag looks like that. If you do that, then the Google bots are reading the words and are fooled into thinking those are words. It's really pictures that you've tagged. You want to put text. If you look at Dick Hanna's got one of the best SEO programs in the country. I mean, they're just fantastic. And they've hired really good people to come in and do this for them. But you'll notice that all the keywords that they have captured are found in every page of their website. When you're picking your domain name, please pick one that is your company name, right? So this is important. Your description's important. Tagging your alt tags are important. And this body text in here is really important. And it's important from the subtitles, subheadings, we call them. And those subheadings are called H tags. So that's number 4. Number 5, you want to have live content. You don't want to have your website not updated often. You want to update it fairly frequently. And you want to keep your content fresh. So that's number 5. Number 6, you want to have backlinks. You want people linking to you. So the Chamber of Commerce could do a great service to all of their people if you probably link to all of them and then have them link to each other, because all of those counts as points. And those backlinks are all live backlinks, not dead. So if you do these kinds of things, when people type in your name and some parameters, your web app will be findable, just as findable as if it's in a marketplace. If you go online and type in CMDC, 4 letters, name of my program, out of 1 million hits, we're number 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, and 10. And that's not an accident, right? That's using these principles. So we're not making, even though we can afford the energy to make a native app, we don't make a native app. We have responsive design that, we're making a web app with. We don't need it. So what's the point of a website? A website is your calling card. When you go to a meeting, if you don't have a calling card, people think you're a loser, right? Well, anymore, you got to have a website too. That's just the bottom line. The website can also function as a mobile site, as an app, if it's responsive and all those things I just told you. You want social media. You want Facebook and you want Twitter. I recommend you have LinkedIn. You might need some others like YouTube, Instagram, depending on your business, right? But these are the big 3 right here. Anything you do here needs to feed traffic here. This is your call to action. If you don't have a call to action here, like Dan, yours is come to the movies. Come see our show. We've got this great show. Everything you do here feeds to that call to action. So your Facebook postings, your Twitter tweets, your LinkedIn personality, all of that feeds into your system here. What's interesting is that Google indexes Twitter. So today, if you type in my name, there's like 11,200 hits. A lot of it's Twitter. However, sometimes Google doesn't get along with Zuckerberg. I mean, not Zuckerberg, with Twitter. And so what happens is they don't index Twitter anymore. So then my numbers go down. And then I notice that they're playing well together again, and my numbers go up again. So every day it's different. So SEO changes fairly regularly. Sometimes Google and Zuckerberg get along. And I notice that my SEO goes up to 12,800 or 16,000 sometimes, because I'm a lot on Facebook. A lot more. I'm not on Twitter, but I'm a lot on Facebook. So these help push traffic to my website. And then LinkedIn, for you guys, are really important. Not so much for college professors, but for you guys, it's really important. So everything, this is how this functions, and your keywords are everything. You should be collecting those. So I'm like anal retentive about keywords. I'm on my website every day looking to see what people are hitting and looking for. And I take those words and refocus them into the site, constantly enhancing my SEO. So for example, let's say I look at my stat counter, and there's a little link that says, here's all the keywords that people use to find you today. And if there's something in there that I didn't use before, I put them back in. So I've been building my keywords.
How do they use those keywords to find you?
Oh,
How do you use them?
well, look.
How does it-
They add them up together. So let's go to Google. And let's say I say, let me pick a company that I haven't spoken. What's the name of your company again? What's going to be your company?
Smile for Miles.
Smile for Miles. And what is it? What kind is it? It's massage? Massage. Okay, I'm going to say massage, Vancouver, Washington. Those are key words. Let's see if you show up here. Well, we're going to see the paid stuff first, which no one ever should pay attention to. Ever. Notice that you're not showing up on the front page. Okay? Look at everybody else. So somebody's doing a better job than you. Now, down here, they give you hints for keywords. Sensual massage, whatever that is. Foot massage. Couples massage. Therapy. So those are words you can add to your keywords. Let's be more specific. Is there something special about your company? Traveling. So you're mobile, right? You move. All right, so traveling. Let's say home service would be one way of doing it.
In-home massage therapy.
In-home, I like that. That's better. So you know better than I do. In-home, and you said what else?
Massage therapy. I'd be surprised if it showed up.
Well, you know what? And probably not, but this is how you would do it. Do you see what I mean? You would put in your description and in your web page, in the body, these words. You can actually control people finding you if you use keywords. So you're not showing up, but if you see the description here, do these folks discover the best massage, a message studio? That's dumb. They even spelt wrong. That's not good. Okay, let's go here. Let's go a little higher. This is a bad one. In the Columbia Tech Center at 192nd and Mill Plain, there's no description there. Tranquility Massage in Vancouver, Washington provides oncology massage, deep. Well, oncology massage probably got them there. So if we typed in oncology massage for cancer patients, that would probably come up. So you can actually control your keywords. If we go to this website, I'm going to see if I can do this. And I'm going to go to dev. Bigger so I can see. See this in my Safari? Do you see dev up here? Development. I have the paid source, and that pulls up the code for that website, and I can see what they're doing in that website. It's really cool. And when I show you this, you'll see right here, see this title. I'm going to highlight that. Do you see that highlighted in blue? Can you see that? Okay, it's hard to read, but that's the title. And you want the title of your company there. There's descriptions in here. Ooh, that's ugly code. Ooh, 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 bad code. That's not pretty. And if you have bad code, it does hurt your findability. They're using a template. They're probably using a template. Josie's shaking her head. We've seen that before. Do you see this right here? This is their body information. From customized sessions like deep tissue and sports massage to unique enhancements like aromatherapy, massage envy spas, professional massage therapists are trained to meet your specific needs and add late night and weekend hours and locations throughout Vancouver. So all of those can function as keywords. So a lot of things you say in your description, you can define and be findable. So. Anyway, that's it. I think I'm through. Thank you.